Yep, we can go ahead. We've given people 3 minutes to get in. I don't know
Okay.
if that is, I think 3 to 5 minutes is a nice grace period.
Okay,
So
cool.
if you'd like to go ahead and get started,
Okay, yeah,
we're
I'm
good to
cool with it.
go.
All right, let's do it. I almost started like my podcast. All right, so good morning everybody. Yeah, so good morning. That's the end of my presentation. Now I'm really excited to be here. Really quickly, obviously, my name is Quincy, Quincy Lewis. Just want to give you guys a little bit of a background, kind of how I even got into this, not just video recording, but like into this podcast festival. Really quickly, I want to give a shout out to Lee, who last year, I guess I need to tell this story really quickly. I did a video last year to try to win, tickets to the original Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, and that was in Brooklyn last year. So I did like a little skit to try to win some tickets, and I actually ended up winning one. The funny thing about the podcast festival is that when I got to New York, I was actually staying in Harlem, but I took the train over to Brooklyn. And when I got there, the security was at the front, at the front desk, checking people's names and making sure they were on the list. And when I pulled up, or when I walked up rather, I gave him my name. He was like, "Well, you're not on the list," and I'm like, but I came all the way from Detroit, and I should be on the list. So like, the guy went in, he left the stand. He told me to stand there for a second, and then Talib came out. Now, mind you, I think I've had maybe one conversation at that point before then. And when he came up to the front, he was like, Q, like, I'm so glad you could make it. Like, I was in awe. I'm like, how does this dude even remember me? Like, all the people that he has to talk to, all the people they deal with on a regular basis. And he remembered me. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. So I was, I shook his hand and everything. He was like, man, you're good. Come on in and everything. So he took me inside, and I met a bunch of like just wonderful people at that point. And I knew at that point, I was like, this is something that I wanted to be a part of. Now, at that point, obviously, I was just an attendee. So I wasn't like on any panels or anything, but I had vowed to myself after I left there that the next time that they had one, definitely I wanted to be a speaker. So as soon as that was over, they took our information. I immediately reached out to leave and told him, when you're ready for speakers for next year, I definitely want to be a part of that. And that's how I got here today. So I'm excited about this to talk about the importance of adding video to your podcast, which is oddly enough, you would think that more people were interested in putting video to their podcast, but I think it's a kind of a scary thing. So this is what we're going to do today. I've already done the intro, so I guess we can't talk about that anymore. Or I can always talk about myself a little bit more because I like doing that. So I'll give you a little bit more of an introduction of basically who I am. The couple of things that we're going to cover today are kind of the three main things I believe that deter people from using video for their podcast. The first thing is a lot of people are just camera shy. They just don't like to be seen on the camera. So they don't want to be seen. So that's the one thing. The second thing I believe is that a lot of people believe that the video equipment is too expensive. So they don't want to have to deal with the prices that go along with that. The third thing is, and I think we were just talking about this before we got on camera, Dahlia, and that was the fact that a lot of people are intimidated by the technology behind like using the cameras and videoing and even editing for that matter. So we're going to look at a couple of things to kind of help you guys out with that. Then finally, I actually have some recommendations for video equipment and software that can make this a lot easier. Free software, by the way, and some inexpensive video equipment. So we're going to talk about that. In between time, like I said, I did have a few questions already listed in the Q&A. So if you've taken a look at those or you want to discuss those, we'll be going through those in between time, so we don't have to wait to the end to ask questions because I like to be a little interactive. All right, so let's start back at the beginning. Uh, as far as my intro, I started doing podcasting maybe about Oh, was this 2020? So probably about 10 years ago. I was doing podcasts when they weren't even like really popular. I had a small Dell computer and a Metro PCS flip phone that I actually used on speaker. There was a thing then, Blog Talk Radio. I think this is still available, and it was all audio. So I had no video. And for the first 2 months, I think I had a 30-minute show. And it's I'm it's kind of crazy because I had a buddy of mine who actually presented the idea. So I kind of ran with it. I went and Googled it and figured out how we can get an internet radio show. And they everybody was excited about it. And then when it was time to record, it ended up just being me. So I had the 30-minute session, audio only. Finally, a couple of my partners came in and started helping me out. So we started doing the show then. It wasn't until I want to say maybe about 5 or 6 months in, we started like trying to do video. And some of the worst video I've ever seen. I'm probably going to have to go back to YouTube and take some of that stuff off because it's absolutely trash. The camera quality wasn't good. I had no editing skills at that point. So it was it's kind of it was trial and error for the most part. But I did have to get over that initial fear of being on camera. So I think that's where we're going to start at with people's comprehensions or apprehensions. I'm sorry, with being on video. So this is my thing. Most people are afraid of audiences or people critiquing or like looking at them, and I think that's a natural thing. But I think to overcome that, I think a lot of people, especially on social media, we go live a lot. We take a lot of selfies. At the end of the day, when you really look at it, I mean, people are always looking at you. So, like, I think for one, you just have to overcome that fear of people watching you because of social media everybody is always looking. So if you've taken a selfie, if you went live anywhere, you're already camera ready. So I think that's the easiest thing for me to tell you to get over that fear is to realize that every day you're actually performing for a camera. I think once you get that in your mind, it becomes a little bit easier to move forward. Now, I think I asked the question in the Q&A, and I asked what was the most important thing, about from your podcast. And I can't remember who answered it, but someone said that your voice is. And I really thought that for a long time because podcasts were really kind of like the radio. They were like the radio show. So originally podcasts were like pod basically came from iPod because people were listening to podcasts. But I think that over time, I think your presence probably is even more important than the voice. You can have a distinct voice, like my co-host from the E Block Radio Wake and Bake show has a very distinct laugh, and people seem to love his laugh because it's very distinct. So like you can definitely when it's him on, like even if you don't see him. So I can see how that can really be effective. But for me, I like to see people's reactions. I like to see, like, especially in an interview session. Now, our show, the Wake and Bake show, we don't actually do interviews, but one of my other podcasts, the Shot versus Everybody podcast, which is my nephew's podcast, it is interview style. So I think when you have an interview, it's like it's so much better to see like somebody's reaction when a question comes in, or maybe even the interviewer's reaction when you get an answer that you weren't expecting. Now, without video, none of that would actually be like nothing would work. Like if you didn't see that reaction. So I think that's why having video is so important. But just getting back to getting over your fear. Again, I always equate it back to social media because people are always on social media, and I've seen a million selfies in my day. Matter of fact, I just took one before I started doing this session. So selfies are a thing. People are starting to be getting used to being looked at, especially now. Let's look at it right now, and not even just like 10 years ago. Looking at it right now with the pandemic and everything that's going on, we have almost become accustomed to looking at each other through a computer, like, or through a phone screen. And that's kind of a sad thing, but that's where we are with things. So I think even with that preparation, even doing virtual festivals like we're doing right now, I think it prepares you to be, camera ready. And this is one thing that I think people should do. It's probably crazy, and you probably will think I'm crazy, but this is what I would suggest. If you're really camera shy or you're really afraid of the camera, do this. If you've got a camera like a webcam or even like your phone, just randomly just record yourself. Like record yourself doing things. Like even if you're not doing it for the camera. Like let's say you're cooking and you want to throw the camera on just to kind of get some angles and see what it looks like. Just do that randomly, and then just start looking at some of your recordings and see what it is that you don't like, or what you think works, what you think might be funny or attention grabbing, and then take those things and put that into your podcast presence. Now, I say that, and it sounds pretty simple, but I will say this though. I think that some of the pressure does come from doing a solo podcast. So I think it was while I was doing the original podcast, I was doing it, solo by myself, and I think that is what discouraged me from doing video. It is a little bit easier to have a co-host and someone you can bounce your ideas back and forth on, and kind of lose track of the camera. But when you're by yourself, it's just you and the camera. So I know that can be pretty intimidating. But at the same time, I think me and Dahlia was talking about this before we got on camera as well, is that it's less stressful than being in front of people live, where everybody's just kind of looking at you, and they're they're not actually paying attention, or like being entertained, I guess we'll say. I think that's a little bit worse. So at least when it's just you and the camera, you can kind of build off of what you think is happening. So you might not necessarily know if somebody is paying attention, but at least you don't have that fear of people looking you dead in your face and not really paying attention, which is certainly the worst. So that's the first thing. All right, getting over that fear. So like I said, just to recap on that, the main things is just to do it over and over to get over the fear. Even if you're not doing it for the podcast, just record some things. Like just start recording, get comfortable. It is, especially when you're doing it by yourself, it is a little awkward because it's like you're talking to yourself. So it is a little awkward, but once you do it over and over, repetition is like the greatest thing. Like if you've ever played any sports or anything, practice seems to be like the worst thing ever. But obviously when you do something over and over, you get good at it, at game time. So that's what I see on that. Now, just to move a little bit past that and go to the fear of the cost of things, right? So when I first started doing video, we had it was a Logitech. I can't remember what model it was. This was several years ago, and I think it was $39.99, which is probably why my video wasn't that great. But at the time, I think it wasn't even 720. I don't think it was HD. But like I still just went ahead and did that $40 camera connected to the computer. And once we started recording, I kind of started getting over the fear of being recorded. But like it was the price initially, because I thought that all of the webcams were going to be like $100 or $200, just to get started, and it didn't end up being that case anyway. Now I just wanted to move a little bit to a couple of. Let me see where it is. Okay, so the camera that I'm using right now is a little bit better. So it's a full HD screen or a full HD camera. That one's a Logitech C9 22X. All right, so I said that so in case you wanted to jot that down if you wanted to get into a camera. This one it's not too expensive. It's not extra cheap either. So we're looking at from Amazon. I was able to get that for $119.99. You are able to get a used one at $69.99. And to be honest, the camera, I've had this camera for this one I've had for a year, but I had the C922, which was the model before that. I had that for about 4 years. It's really durable, and I think it's going to be the best investment that you can make with the $70 for a used one, or if you want to pay $119 for one straight out the box. Either one of those, I think, is going to be, useful for you. Now, I say that because I've had, well, first of all, let me tell you about our show. Our show is 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's the Wake and Bake Show. So obviously marijuana is legal in the state of Michigan. So we do indulge in marijuana on that show. Now I say all that to say that, smoke does kind of like it will mess up a camera lens. It definitely will. So with that being said, we've been doing this show for quite some time, and it hasn't like messed up the lens. Like I've dropped it, we stepped on it. There's constantly like smoke in the lens, and it still works perfectly. So that's why I said that if you're cool with buying a used one, I say go right ahead. Save that like $30 or $40 and go ahead and get a used one, and it's still going to work great. The only thing you want to do is definitely you want to do some maintenance. So you do want to occasionally. I do actually have some a camera lens spray, but I mean, quite honestly, I know camera people hate when I say this, but you can use Windex. All right, you can use Windex. You can wipe it off. I do suggest that you use a camera cloth though, and not paper towel, because what happens when you use the paper towel, it leaves lint on the glass, and that'll kind of mess up your camera view. So you just want to keep that in mind. But yeah, for camera prices, like I say, usually around 69 to 119. If you're spending any more than that, then it's possibly because you want to, or you have a lot of disposable income. But I don't think you have to spend that amount of money to actually get a good camera. Now, what I also want to mention too, a way that you can get a less expensive camera that maybe, let's say, it doesn't have full 1080p, it has 720. Well, first of all, let me give you a little secret on that. Most of the time, the things that you upload to Facebook and YouTube are only going to come out at 720 anyway. So even if you record at 1080, it's probably not going to come out at 1080. It's probably going to come out at 720 anyway. So little known fact for camera people trying to save you to 1080. And 4K cameras, like it's not gonna translate well to YouTube. Not yet. But anyway, the more important thing too that I think a lot of people neglect or don't even know about, and so I got to put you up on game, is lighting. Like with your best camera, like the best camera on earth that you could ever find, like a 4K camera. I think there's one that's called a Red. And those cameras are like $2,000-$3,000 cameras, but without lighting, those cameras don't do anything. Like it's worthless. So I think what you want to do is also invest in, some decent lights. Right now, I've only got two of my lights on because like the sun is shining outside, so it's kind of blurring out everything. But these lights, let me see, I got those up as well just to give you an idea. These were E-marked LED video lights. Those I actually purchased from Amazon as well. You get a package of two of those, and that's only $49.99. So let's just take a look at that. Let's say that you're starting to do a video. You want to do some streaming, and you get your used 9C922 camera at $69.99. You get the two lights for $49.99. So you're looking at like about 110 after taxes, maybe about $120. So you've got a whole studio set up right there. Obviously, if you've done audio already, you've got your microphones and everything, so that's already set. So for $120, basically, you could get a video setup, and you can start streaming uh, your content either live or recorded. We're going to talk about that too, like the difference between going live and recording. I was actually just a side note, me and Dolly were talking, and I told her I did a little short skit, like maybe 30 seconds or something, for Instagram last night, and it was a recording. And like we stream live 3 times a week, like for an hour at a time. But I did a 30-second promo reel, and it took me like 50 takes to do that. Like, because I just like, I keep recording and looking at it like, no, I don't like that. Record, look at it, no, I don't like that. So I think, not to fast forward too far into what I want to talk about, but there is definitely a difference between going live and recording those things. We'll talk about that in just a moment, though. But as far as the price is concerned, I think that again, I do have the that's EMART, EMART. They're LED lights. I actually ordered those from Amazon, $49.99. It comes with two, so you have a perfect pair, so you can have one on either side, and that way you can get the perfect lighting situation with your with your camera. So that's going to be a way to go ahead and do some great video. Now, moving past that, so we talked about the fear of just being on camera, right? So that's one of the main things. The second thing we talked about was the pricing. All right, so I gave you some rather inexpensive options for that. Now, the third thing that we talked about is just kind of the technical part of it. So it can get a little technical. All right, and what I mean by that is that if you are recording and you would like to do you would like to do some editing, it can get a little technical. All right, so there's two things. I actually pulled these up last night because I use Adobe Premiere to do my editing, and I know Adobe Premiere is not always cost effective because it is kind of a top tier video editing tool. I just happen to have access to the Adobe suite, so I was able to take advantage of that. But let me see, I want to pull up the ones that I chose. All right. Now, really quickly, Dahlia, were there any questions in there that I needed to cover before I move on to this section?
For the lighting, let me run through the Q&A.
Okay.
One question is, do those lights get hot, or
Okay.
do you feel comfortable with them on?
Right. Now the lights can get hot, but normally because they're LED lights, they won't be like too hot. It's not like the hamburger sitting under the light at McDonald's, but obviously lights will heat up the situation just a little bit. However, because they're LED lights, they don't actually have to be close to you. So I don't think it'll really bother you. I know a lot of the ladies though, possibly if you're wearing makeup, I think that may be a concern. If it's too warm, then possibly the makeup may start to bleed. But the lighting is not like, it's not overpowering, so it won't heat you up. Like, it's not like a heating lamp. So that's good. And those are LED lights though. Now they do still have the regular bulb lights, and those are made like regular bulbs that you would put into a fixture. Those tend to be a little bit warmer, but they do have covers for those that will allow some of that. Actually, two things: it allows some of that heat to be taken off of you, and it spreads the light out for you. So there's options around, trying to make sure that you don't sweat yourself to death while you're recording. So it's definitely a good thing. That's a great question, though. Definitely.
And do you use those filters, the color filters? Right now, do you have like a white one on?
No, I don't. And see what's happening, like I mentioned before, I don't have a filter on, but the sun started shining through the windows, and it kind of canceled my light out. And that's where that white film is coming from. So, and this is where I think it gets a little technical, because a lot of times once you start recording, it's like at this point I've got everything set up. I can't like stop it and start fixing the lights. So I think this is where the technical part comes in, where you have to do some editing a lot, and that just kind of leads me to what I was going to say about these two products here. The first one is called Blender. All right, these are applications that you can download for free to do video editing. So it's Blender is the first one. The second one is Lightworks. All right. Now, why this is important is because, for instance, like this, if I was recording this after we're done recording, I would actually go into one of my video editors and would turn down the white balance because of the sunlight coming through the window. There is like a overshadowing of white balance. So this is where it gets a little technical. Now, everybody, again, we talked about this off camera as well. I know some people are intimidated by following instructions and trying to do everything to a T. I will just tell you this: when I started shooting videos and editing videos, I've never read instructions. When I get to a point where I want to find something out, quite honestly, I just normally go to YouTube. You go to YouTube and find some videos of people who have the same problem, because I guarantee whatever problem that you're having with video shooting or editing, there's going to be somebody with a video that's going to explain to you how to fix that, because they've got that same problem. So
Can
with
you
that
tell
being,
us the websites one more time?
yeah,
Did you say these have desktop versions or these are apps?
yep, no, these are desktop versions. I'm sorry. Yep. So the first one is Lightworks. You'll just have to once you Google Lightworks, it'll give you the actual site. Lightworks is the name of it, though. It's all one word: LIGHTWORKS. The second one is Blender. Like I said, if you Google those, it'll give you the exact website. Now, these are going to be available for your Windows computers or your MacBooks. So, like either one, if you've got Apple or if you've got a PC, then these will work on either one. Now, I will say that Blender is a little bit more technical, only because it has a lot of it's got a lot of features. It's got a lot of things that you can manipulate. But again, it's going to come with instructions. But I would always say YouTube is your best friend. YouTube University is what we call it. You can learn pretty much anything from there. But I think those two are the top ones that don't cost you anything. So those are going to be free. Like I said, the one that I rely on most is Adobe Premiere. Partially because while I was living in Colorado, I actually did an internship at Denver Open Media, which is a nonprofit media organization out in Colorado. And they taught me how to use it. So I had workshops, so I got accustomed to it. So after that, like once I learned something, it's like I'm almost too afraid to try something new. So I kind of got, I really got used to using that. So that's why I use it. However, it is a paid application. So I wanted to give you two options that are free. You can purchase Adobe Premiere, or you can actually basically lease it out on a monthly basis. I think if you're only doing the Adobe Premiere, I think it's like $29.99 a month. That could be a great investment if you're doing like other video editing. And I actually do other video editing, so that's why it became important for me. Um, Now, we were talking about kind of too the difference between streaming and recording. Now, what I wanted to talk about was the streaming aspect. Before I get to the streaming aspect, we're going to talk about OBS and Restream, a couple of desktop applications that allow you to stream to multiple places. Before we get to that, though, were there any other questions regarding some of the things that we already discussed?
Now, in the Q&A section,
Mhm.
there are a couple that I think are relevant. Sorry, I'm trying
Okay.
to get through to the responses.
I know I responded to a few already.
That is true. Yeah, actually, maybe you already answered all of these. You're on it.
I was trying to be. Yeah, I was just trying to, because I asked those questions to try to get the conversation started, so I would know, what was going to be important to cover.
Here's one. Are
Mhm.
there any tools that you recommend for adding subtitles or closed captions to your video? So you just gave us two good
Mhm.
options for free video editing. What about
Right.
captions?
Right. For captions, now the thing with the captions, you can also this is really this is really technical. In those those editors, you can put in your own captions. Now, the only thing about that obviously is that you're going to be the one who has to transcribe everything. So that's where that part gets technical. But when you're doing this is something new for Facebook as well. But when you're streaming to YouTube or recording to YouTube and now Facebook, it actually creates subtitles for you. It does them for you. The Facebook option is something brand new that just happened maybe in the last month or so. But when you upload it, then there's the setting that allows them to actually transcribe it for you and put in the closed caption. I'm sorry, not subtitles, but the closed caption that is also available on YouTube as well. So the only thing about YouTube, I will say, I think it's getting a little better. but YouTube does kind of mess up your words sometimes. Facebook is a lot better at it. Like even with our on our show with our broken English, like somehow it still figures out what we're talking about. But
Okay, good, because that relates to someone's comment. So
yeah.
Experience said they've seen this function, but
Mhm.
can you edit it? I know that in YouTube there is an option to go in and edit it. I don't remember the steps. Can you edit it in Facebook?
Facebook is so new that I haven't actually had a chance to kind of manipulate it at all. YouTube, certainly you can go in and change those. If you've got, because I've uploaded a few kind of documentary style videos, and the cool thing about that was that the person I was recording for, they already had transcription, so I would basically just copy and paste their Word document and just add it into the box for it to come out appropriately. However, for Facebook, I'm not sure yet. I'll have to. That'll be something we'll have to parking lot. I can put it back into our resources. We can get that information out to people because it's so new that I haven't even had a chance to kind of mess around with it. I just noticed it maybe, like I said, maybe a month ago that Facebook was even doing that, which I'm kind of surprised, but that they just catching on. Like I said, YouTube is getting a little better, but still, definitely you can go in and you can change the things and correct the words that they got wrong. So,
Okay,
but
awesome.
and
And
closed caption, yeah, that's one other thing too, and this is kind of off the subject, but closed caption, if you're streaming or recording, closed caption is very important for really for one reason. And this is something that I think a lot of people don't share, and I kind of learned on the humble from some research I did, but do realize that when you use closed caption on your videos, it broadens your audience. So it's more likely that more people will see the video because it's closed caption. Like, and I never even thought about that, but it's all about accessibility. Like if you've got a content that's accessible for like more people, then the algorithm will allow more people to see it. And that's the so yeah. So if you've got closed caption, make sure that you use it. Do follow behind it to make sure that it's saying what you're actually saying. And that part is tedious. I can't lie to you. That's just like editing, because you've got to listen to it all over again. You've got to see if it's lining up with what you actually said. So it is tedious, but I think once you do it a few times, you'll get a little more comfortable with it. I like for us, for instance, we've done that with a few of our streams, but like I don't know, sometimes our language gets so out of control. Like I just stopped trying to edit it because like I'm not about to go back in there and try to fix all these things because they don't have a clue what I'm saying. And I'm not going back in there to change all that stuff. So
Talib recommended rev.com
mhm.
for closed captions with streaming software like Zoom and
Okay.
other platforms as well.
Okay. All right. I did that. You said that's rev.com?
Yes. Let
Okay.
me pop it on this one so everyone can see.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not trying to be paranoid, but I have noticed, a lot of people in Silicon Valley that are doing this programming and setting these things up, they are
Mhm.
not Black. So you can tell when the AI tech can't pick up on things that we might say all the time. And
Exactly.
every single time it imagines it's something else, you can tell it's just not, it wasn't programmed that way.
Right. It wasn't programmed for us.
Exactly.
And you know what? That may be, and I'm always looking at opportunities to kind of get into some kind of creative realm, but that might actually be a small business opportunity for somebody to get more into closed caption work that actually use our language, because that is something that's missing. So that could actually be an idea. And we said it here first. So if anybody at this podcast festival comes up with that, I want a 10% off of that idea. But yeah, I think that is important though, definitely. And thanks for the information. I think where did we want to, oh yeah, so about really quickly about, because it looks like we're running out of time, and I thought I was only going to have like 5 minutes of information to share, but I've got actually a few more things. uh Now I guess my question is, I know we got a few people listening, so I'm just going to throw this question out here and then I'm going to move forward, and if some answers come out we can address those. But For the people who have not done any video for their podcast, are you more afraid to stream live or to record and upload those videos? I just want to throw that question out there. You can answer it in the chat or in the question and answer section. I just want to throw that out there so you can think about it while I'm talking about this. For me, quite honestly, streaming live works better. For one, I'm kind of lazy. All right. So if you stream live, there's less editing I have to do because like it's live. It's just, that's what it is. So there's not a lot of editing there unless it's just something just get completely out of control that I have to edit out. But for me, it's a little easier. But from that streaming aspect, when you're streaming live, like I said, I wanted to mention OBS, the OBS system, which you can go to obs.com to download this system. It is going to be software for your laptop or your desktop that will allow you to stream to several different places. So it's kind of cuts out the middleman. It's going to be like a distributor, so to say. So you can record from your laptop and you can use, let me see, the ones that are free. You would be able to use Facebook. Facebook would be your personal page though. All right. So if you wanted to stream to like your host page or like your podcast page, that does cost additional. Like you have to pay the $14.99 for Restream. The Restream app in conjunction with the OBS app kind of just allows you to go to multiple streams for free outside of that one. And I think if you've got multiple Facebook pages or multiple YouTube pages, then you have to pay the premium. But otherwise, you get your Facebook personal page, YouTube, obviously live. Then also you can use Twitch. Twitch is normally for video gamers, but I just saw it as an opportunity to get to a different demographic. So I went ahead and streamed there. You don't get a lot of traction from Twitch because they're looking for gamers really. But at some point, it may become a platform for podcasts, and at that point, I can be like, well, we're already there. You can do Mixcloud from there. That's also live, and Periscope. So all those are free. Periscope is from Twitter. All of those are free, so no charge. You just sign up your account at Restream.io. You can set up your account there. What happens basically is in your OBS software, once you download that, it just pretty much shows up like a recording studio or your computer. Then it asks for a stream key. All right, so the stream key is basically the address where all the distribution happens. You'll get that stream key from your Restream account. I know it sounds technical. It's a little technical, but most of these things I tried trial and error. I did YouTube and I Googled, but it's pretty simple after that. Like once you get that stream key, which they provide for you right on your Restream screen, you just copy and paste it and put it right into your OBS system. And then from that point, every time you press record or not record, I'm sorry, every time you press stream, it's going to go out to all of those places that you that you desire. So I think for me, doing it that way is like it's so much easier because for whatever reason, the pressure of having to have it done right now works better for me. Everybody's not like that though. A lot of people like to record and make it perfect and fine tune it. But I think I seen and I can't remember who said this, but they were talking about Black podcasters and creators, period. But they said that a lot of Black people, and I think we're all guilty of this to a certain degree, but say a lot of people have products and ideas and podcasts that they want to do, but they're so afraid to not be perfect at it that they take forever to do it because they're so worried that the project has to come out super polished and like A1. And I'm here to tell you, like, if you've never done a video podcast or stream live, just try it once. And no, it's probably not going to come out the greatest, but that doesn't mean don't do it though. Like it may even, like you may even want to quit like halfway through, like, you know what, this isn't for me. But I just suggest that you at least give it a shot. But really quickly, because while these minutes are rolling past, another important thing though about adding video to your podcast, and I think this is probably the most important because in real life, I mean, what is it that we really want to do? Like with podcasts, it's cool, it's fun. We're meeting people, you're interacting, you're exchanging ideas, you're entertaining. But at the end of the day, let's be real. We want to make a couple dollars, right? We want to make some money. Like at some point, you want this to be sustainable. Like you want to be able to create some revenue. So for me, adding video gives you that kind of gives you that leverage, because what you can do now that you couldn't do before with sponsorships, right? So if you got all audio, you can get like an audio commercial. You can charge people to run commercials on there. But like, what about when you add video? You can actually add a video commercial and charge more, right? I'm just saying, if you want to make some money, so you can charge a little more for the video commercials, but also something different, like how you see in the background here, my Ingleside sign. I mean, everybody probably don't want to steal street signs off of their corner, but like it's product placement though, right? So if you got video and you got a sponsor that wants to sponsor something, you can now offer three things. You can offer them the audio sponsorship, the video sponsorship, and product placement. So you get to actually make more money. So I think when you look at it that way, when you look at adding video as a tool to actually start some revenue, I think it'll convince you that this is a great idea to, move forward with. For me also too, it's kind of like, I guess I'm a visual person. Like I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Drink Champs, right? So Drink Champs is a podcast with Nori and DJ EFN. And I remember when it first came out, Nori was a rapper from back in the day. And I think it was just like he was so like energetic and just like interactive that like I had to see it. Like I would always watch the podcast. And I remember I was telling my nephew about it, and he said that oddly enough, because he would always listen at work, that listening worked better for him. Like he didn't really care about watching it. But then that's when I realized like there's a lot of consumers out here. Like there are people who like to listen to podcasts like while they're driving or while they're working. But then you've got people who like they're entertained by like casting your podcast to their TV, because all the smart TVs, all you got to do is click on YouTube and there you are. So with all of that being said, I think it's just I think it's the word. That's what it was. It's the word that they use so many times at the Afro and Audio Podcast Festival last year. And it's something that really stuck with me. And that word is repurpose. You've got content that you can use in several different medias. Why not exhaust all of them? And I think that's my whole take on everything, is just that you've got an option to not only get your voice heard, but you can have your face seen. And I think that is a little intimidating sometimes, but you got to look at like the residual outcome of it, like what can actually happen. You've got content that you can use in several different places just by adding video to it. So you want to look at that as a resource. I think we only got like probably like 9, maybe 10 minutes left. Were there any questions I needed to cover before we wrap it up?
We just have a super smart group of folks in the chat. So people are supporting each other and dropping knowledge.
That's what's up.
Speaking to what you're saying about that desire to be perfect and how it holds us back. And I know that's a common human thing, and it's a common thing for all creatives, but I do think there's an added layer of trauma as a Black person. You know that people are always watching you. You know that people are always picking everything you do apart. And in work environments and in school environments, you've had to turn things in that were pristine when other people turned in trash and got the same, so it's like, this is a real trauma we have to work through, but it's so helpful to hear it from another Black person who's had that same experience, I'm sure, of being criticized all the time, knowing that that's the enemy of our creativity. You just got to do the thing.
It is. And I think you make a very valid point there. I mean, we come from, I guess it's safe to say, I think we all pretty much come from an upbringing where that idea that we were starting off at a handicap, I think we've all kind of, felt that way at some point. So we always feel like we've got to do the utmost to even be considered average. So, and that's, unfortunately, I think that is an issue with creatives, because we start spending too much time on trying to be perfect when there's so many resources out here and so many avenues and so many people that are willing to help, that will allow you to be great even when you didn't think you were going to be great. And just to give a nod to this whole podcast festival, I think this is definitely one of those tools. And to leave, I'm not sure if you logged on right now listening, but I remember when we were leaving the festival last year, and you did the speech at the end, and you were thanking like all the participants and everything. I think the most important thing that I took away from what you said at the end was that you wanted to do it again next year, but you wanted to make sure that when we came back, we wasn't doing the same thing. Like you want to make sure that you come back and you're able to learn something new or add something new or give new resources. And I think to that effect, this has definitely been a success in that platform, because this is a lot more it's a lot more interactive than I think than it was from last year. And I do have new information that I didn't gain last year. So definitely that was achieved this year in this podcast festival. And I'm hopeful that I've been able to give some insight to some of the people listening today. If you didn't have video, or you thinking about doing video, hopefully I've encouraged you to do so at this point. And I would honestly, everybody that's listening to, really quick before my time is up, make sure that you do check me out on Instagram. That's q.lewis313. And like, just follow me. I'll follow you back and everything. And I want to hear some of these success stories, like some of the people who didn't have video. Like, I want you to, give me a shout, at some point and say like, hey, Q, I tried the video and you were right. Or like, you know what, this is too much. Like, I hate you, whatever you want to say.
We did have one question from Nicole. Nicole
Okay.
wants to know, what if you, at the moment, you only have audio?
Mhm.
Do you have any suggestions for how you could make a video engaging if legit all you have right now is audio?
Yeah. Now, if all you got is audio, like so at this point, you didn't record yourself, obviously, doing the recording. I guess it depends on how long it is. Because what I like to do, if it's like 30 minutes, and this can get a little tedious, but if it's like 30 minutes, you can actually some of the points that you're making on your audio, you can do like some visual slides. You can Google like some short videos or some like some photos that coincide with what you're talking about, and you can kind of like in some of this video editing tools, you can kind of put those together like a collage to kind of just go along with what you're talking about. That's like if you never recorded yourself actually recording a piece. Now there's also ways to, you can just put, and I've done this before actually, where we were doing a show and something happened, like the camera wasn't actually recording. I didn't know until after it was over, so all we had was audio. At that point, I just, and I don't know, some people hate this, but I use a still picture. I use a still picture and just put the audio on that. And the only reason I say that is that because with, at least with that content, you can upload it to YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So there's some kind of visual, there's not any emotion to it, but you can actually use a still photo. When From this point though, if you're recording, um, I'm not gonna say it's not too late. Obviously, you can go back and put some videos with those. It does get tedious though if you're trying to create videos to kind of coincide with what you're talking about, because what happens then is that you run out of material, like you run out of images to reflect exactly what you're saying. From this point forward though, like even if you're, let's say you don't really want to go into video, I still suggest that at least at the very minimum, just record yourself while you're actually recording your audio. Like even if you never use that footage, just record it so you can have it. And if not that, there's a couple of other things too I think is important. We got 3 minutes. I got to hurry up. uh, Even if you want to do this, like even if you just want to, let's say, break out your phone, and like if you're getting ready to get to an important part, then just record that. Like let's say it's 1, maybe 3 minutes, just record that. So if you don't have the whole video, then at least you can utilize social media and put out those clips. And I think people don't understand how important that is. Like if your whole video never comes out, you can always like go on your Instagram stories or on your Instagram and have these like 1-minute clips showing what you were talking about, and it'll intrigue people. So even if they never get to see the full video, they get to see this video, this one important clip, they'll listen to the podcast. So like that's why videos are definitely important. Like take those clips, and even when you do record a whole video, to do your marketing, to market yourself, make sure that you do cut up some some social media worthy clips, and make sure you post those all week. So leading up to the point, people can start getting excited. And I say this too really quick, because I know it's almost over. A friend told me, and these are words to live by. He told me, he said that, why would I think that I don't have to advertise myself every day when McDonald's shows commercials 12 times a day and everybody knows who McDonald's is? So if you're not even known, what makes you think that you don't have to advertise yourself every day? I was like, wow, I never even thought about that. So record your clips, utilize some of these streaming things. Don't be afraid to be on camera. Even if you are afraid, the only thing I can say is get over it. All right. But outside of that, make sure again that you do check me out on Instagram, q.lewis313. Follow me, I'll follow you back. Hit me in the DM, let me know if you've had some issues with video recording, and share some success stories, because I definitely want to hear those.
That was great. Thank you so much. That was an amazing job. So many good takeaways, and already people are shouting you out, giving you positive feedback in the comments.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
posted your IG also, so if
Cool.
people have questions later, they'll be able to find you.
Definitely.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Have a good day, guys.
Bye.